Hello and welcome to something a little bit different. I'm Soapbox Klotz and today I'm coming to you solo. Nicole will be sitting out this time as she is preparing to take her med school entrance exam, so she is studying the heckin' hardest right now. Let's discuss a service that I have been a very vocal supporter of for a long time, Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle recently celebrated 10 years of providing PC gamers with some of the best deals in gaming. You would be hard-pressed to find a better resource for folks who are looking to build a robust and varied library on Steam while saving large amounts of money. Over the years, Humble Bundle has grown and evolved from mostly providing a platform for indie and small developer titles, to offering up some of the biggest titles in gaming, and partnering with some of the most prolific and prominent developers and publishers in the industry. Further, they have also partnered with a number of publishers for things outside of video games, such as role-playing games, ebooks, audiobooks, and even digital assets for indie game developers. None of this even touches on perhaps the most novel and distinct aspect of Humble Bundle, and that is their continued partnership with numerous charities. Every bundle has been associated with a charity, and some portion of the proceeds goes towards supporting charities that serve people in need across a plethora of issues and movements. Humble Bundle has long represented a great way to get games and other digital content on the cheap, while feeling good about supporting charity as well. You would think this was a near idyllic situation. Sadly, not everything is puppies and rainbows with Humble Bundle these days, and I wanted to touch on some rising concerns I've had. In late 2017, IGN acquired Humble Bundle, and some folks in the community started to worry. It's not really an outlandish statement to say that IGN has fallen from grace in recent years. Once being among the foremost providers of gaming news and resources, but some time ago they fell to the dark side of making money on the internet, with clickbait, recycled or empty content, and various other lackluster offerings. With the acquisition, some Chicken Littles predicted that the sky would soon be falling. Since 2015, Humble Bundle has been offering a monthly subscription service called Humble Monthly, and with that service came a somewhat frustrating but often enticing business model. Humble Monthly would entice consumers by offering a handful of games as headliners. These would be visible to consumers when the bundle went live, and there was a promise of several more mystery titles at the end of the month. In short, consumers were faced with the decision to buy the bundle partially sight unseen. The truth was that many monthly bundles were actually quite good, and oftentimes the mystery titles would be really strong indie or mid-sized titles that were held in high regard among critics and fans alike. I personally was a subscriber off and on during this period, and you could always pause for the months that didn't catch your fancy, but there were some occasions when the mystery games would have tipped the scales on my decision to buy the bundle, and I missed the boat already. I always took issue with the mystery aspect of the monthly service because it really played on the consumer's FOMO, or fear of missing out. That all changed in late 2019 when Humble Bundle announced that they would be rebranding the monthly service and changing the business model. Rather than only showing a handful of titles and then revealing the rest when the bundle was no longer available, consumers would be able to see the full offering each month and could select a number of titles based on their subscription tier. The new subscription would be called Humble Choice and would give consumers a previously unmatched level of control over what they were getting out of the service. Existing monthly subscribers were given the chance to maintain their subscription and be grandfathered in at the previous price of $12 US, and would be allowed to choose 10 titles each month from a selection of 12 games. Additionally, we were still allowed to pause our subscriptions on any months that didn't strike our fancy, and could do so indefinitely. This was an unprecedented level of control over what you could get each month from Humble Bundle's subscription service. I strongly praise this move because it struck me as being extremely pro-consumer, and I've always been an advocate for consumer protections. There were rumblings in various communities related to the service, however. Concerns were voiced that the quality seemed to be dipping, and this coupled with some localized currency issues really began to erode consumer confidence in the service. Consumers were frustrated with the lack of prominent indie and AAA titles in the new offerings, and also with the appearance of some titles that could be called shovelware, including some mobile ports from less than reputable developers. I was initially defensive on behalf of Humble Bundle, and I still stand by the notion that a bundle is not bad simply because it is not the right fit for an individual. Many of the complaints were along the lines of, "These games don't appeal to me," and "I already own a bunch of these games," which are both completely valid reasons for a person to pass on an offered bundle, but they don't make those offerings objectively poor. That said, there seems to be an emerging trend in recent months of the choice bundles being laden with titles from one genre in particular, as well as a focus on a few developers in particular. The genre focus that stands out is strategy games. It has felt recently that Humble Choice has been loaded with 4X strategy titles and other simulations, often taking top billing among the headliner titles. This is not an inherently bad thing, but such an emphasis on one genre in particular can be a pretty significant turnoff for some consumers. Additionally, there are concerns over this genre because some of these titles offer a large amount of paid DLC options that are not included in the bundle. And also because, if I'm speaking honestly, the genre offers titles that generally require huge time commitments and offer a lot of replayability. This of course is a major boon to fans of the genre, because paying a few dollars for a game that will offer you dozens or even hundreds of hours is a massive value, but it also presents the dilemma of diminishing returns. If you are a Choice subscriber looking to get the bundle every month, multiple strategy titles piling up is not really going to offer you much benefit. The inverse, of course, is that consumers who don't have much interest in strategy titles are going to see a constant stream of games that just do not appeal to them. This will contribute to the perception that bundle quality is slipped. It cannot be overstated that many people look forward to the first Friday of each month to see the new Humble Choice. When those customers are faced with consecutive months of titles that do not appeal to them, confidence slips and the grumbling on forums such as Reddit begins. This segues somewhat into a growing issue with the Humble community, and that is what to do with titles that you don't want or already own. Humble Bundle has a built-in service that allows you to gift your unwanted codes to others with a gift link, or you can just generate the code and send it to them directly. The rising issue here is that Humble Bundle's official TOS states that gifting codes is supposed to be reserved for friends and family. How does Humble Bundle determine who your friends or family are? We'll circle back to that in a moment. The gifting feature encouraged an unintended side effect of codes from bundle services like Humble being traded or bought and sold on the gray market. Developers and publishers and storefronts like Humble have a significant interest in not supplying or encouraging the gray market trade of Steam codes. Let me say that again. Devs, publishers, and approved storefronts like Humble have a financial interest in keeping bundled codes off the gray market. It's entirely understandable from a business perspective. Having a large amount of Steam codes for your titles floating around dubious sales sites contributes to devaluing the perceived value and the actual value of your game in the marketplace. Humble offers a very easy-to-use function for gifting your unwanted codes, either via gift link or a gift email. People have used this function to buy, sell, and trade their codes for a long time. Some amount of those codes being exchanged are ending up on gray market sites. Enter the 5-alarm fire that broke out recently. People in the Humble Bundle subreddit and other related communities started to report that they had been banned by Humble Bundle for violating their terms of service. Some were able to reach out to support and have their accounts restored, and others were told to suck it up. Obviously, members of the public only have access to the data provided by the affected individuals, so that data is inherently incomplete and likely skewed by some bias. Apparently, these banned accounts were no longer able to make purchases with their attached payment types, and they could not access or redeem codes that were not yet generated through the service. This brings us to the crux of the issue for me. While I can absolutely understand where Humble and their partners are coming from in trying to prevent these codes from hitting the gray market, at the end of the day these codes were all purchased by legitimate means. Regardless of how the codes were redistributed by the people who bought bundles, they were bought and paid for by those consumers. That also brings us up against the issue with Humble's gifting feature. I recently responded to a tweet chain that one of the mods from the Humble Bundle subreddit had with the Humble Bundle support account. The mods of the sub were concerned that the people who took part in various giveaways that occurred in the sub were going to be subject to these bans, and were trying to decide if the sub should ban giveaway threads to protect users. Humble's response was maddening. Quote, "If the key being gifted was received through our partner program, then they may give away this key as long as there is no cost to enter the said giveaway. While we welcome gifting keys to well-known friends, we cannot condone gifting away keys on open forums to strangers." End quote. I can't even, y'all. I responded to the thread with the following, quote, "This policy is arbitrary and doesn't make sense. You provide a gifting feature but will arbitrarily decide who my friends are or how many I can have. Make a policy choice, gifting or not. Straddling the line and locking people's accounts arbitrarily is ridiculous." End quote. I stand by this position. While I completely understand Humble's position and the desire and necessity of keeping codes off gray sites, I cannot condone the banning of accounts of people who bought codes through legitimate means, and then were punished for giving them to someone else, regardless of if it was transactory or not. As long as Humble Bundle offers the gift to a friend feature, they should not be engaging in the banning of accounts. As I said in my tweet, who are they to determine who my friends or family are, or yours? In my nearly a decade of supporting Humble Bundle, I have received numerous duplicate codes through various bundles. Some I have given to friends or family, and some I've given to relative strangers who I encountered in various communities. I have bought dozens of bundles over the years, spending literally hundreds or thousands of dollars supporting games, comic books, ebooks, and more. I've given money to bundles where I didn't need most of the codes because I wanted to support a good cause and have some codes to give to friends. I couldn't give you a sum total of how much I would lose access to if my account was banned, and I know I'm not alone. Many of us who have been generous with our unwanted or duplicate codes are now facing an arbitrary determination from Humble on if those gifts were legitimate. It's frustrating to say the least. To conclude this conversation for now, the future is unclear. We can't be sure if Humble is going to change their policies and remove the gifting feature, and we can't be sure if they're going to have to reinstate the accounts they've banned or not, and we can't be sure if there will be a definitive change in the situation in the future. There of course is some talk about the various consumer protections provided to citizens of different nations or governing bodies. Folks from the EU, Australia, and New Zealand have all mentioned that this sort of behavior violates distinct consumer protection laws in their countries, and this action Humble has taken could get them in some hot water with regulatory bodies. As for myself and you, dear viewer, my recommendation is simple. Buyer beware. Exercise due diligence with the Humble Bundle services going forward, and you may want to take steps to protect yourself if you have traded or gifted away codes in the past to a wide group of people. There are numerous DRM-free titles in various bundles, as well as the digital media such as comics and ebooks that you may have bought and want to download and back up to a cloud or physical storage. I would hate to see any of you fall victim to this arbitrary policy, and it, coupled with the increasingly worrisome decline in variety and quality of Humble subscription services, I do worry that the glory days of Humble may be behind us. Thanks for hanging out for this little discussion. When we come back next time, Nicole will be in the driver's seat and we'll have something of much lighter fare. Thanks for all your support, and be sure to check out our social media links in the description below.